Marconi live for the Built Ford Tough Studio. Boomer Esiason, Greg Giannotti. It's Boomer and Gio on the Fan. Simulcast across the country on CBS Sports Network and wherever you are in the free Odyssey app. Good Thursday morning. Excited for this one. Boomer is out, of course, for the rest of the week, and Jerry's doing Rutgers basketball. So Lame Duckskin, our program director, said, "Who do you want to have in?" And I said, "What about KFC, Kevin Clancy from Barstool?" He goes, "How much money is he going to want?" And I said, I don't think any. I think he kind of likes this place, but I'll ask him, and if he brings up money, then I'll just send him to you. And you didn't, although you can when he comes in if you'd like to ask for some money. But, Kevin, good morning. How are you?
Good, man. Never even crossed my mind.
Good.
Anything for you guys.
Well, and you've made enough at this point, right? I mean, all of this
Doing
stuff
all right.
is, it's vested.
Yep.
You got a new house, don't you?
Yep, new house.
Big, giant. I saw a gazebo or something
There's a
out
gazebo, yep. There's a gazebo that I never use, but I got a gazebo.
It's just one of those
doing
things that you needed to have, even though you're never going to use it. So, obviously happy for you. We're on the ground floor of what has become one of the most important sports media companies in the country, and you're probably the only guy in this business that I am jealous of their job over my job.
Yeah.
And the only reason why, and I'm not saying that I would take your job over my job, but I am jealous in the fact that it's something you even said on your Instagram this morning.
Yeah.
Like, I'm doing podcasts from home. You know, you're interviewing comedians. You're laughing. You can say whatever the hell you want. You don't have to worry about the FCC. I mean, it's just tremendous.
The fact that you guys get up, what do you get in at 5:30 every day?
Yeah, a little earlier, yeah.
What is it, the 1800s? What are we doing here, Al? You guys, this is crazy.
Well, I mean, people still commute.
No, I know,
People still
I
love the
know.
radio.
You guys you're like first responders in my mind. Jesus. You got to be out there for the people. The people out there who are out there early, they got nothing. You know, when you wake up and it's still dark out and it's like miserable, but you still got the guys on the fan, it's important.
Well, I do think that even in this world where podcasts are available at any point, the fact that we're here live, it's unpredictable. You have no idea what's going on.
Live is so key, man.
Yeah.
Yeah, we even try to capture that a lot at Barstool, going live on, any of the video streaming services. We're on Rumble, we're on YouTube. Like, it's something, even if you do a podcast and you don't edit it and you let it fly and post it as is, having that safety net is always a little different. So when you are truly live, it just adds a little extra to it,
Would you ever do something like this full time? Do radio live full time?
I always thought it would kind of be nice, like when I'm older.
Yeah.
I don't know if I could do the mornings, but if there was ever the midday spot or something like that, I grew up around here, man.
Right.
I love all you guys. It's every time I am here, it's surreal because I did grow up on it. Every show, every host. So every time I'm either even mentioned or a guest spot or now today, like sitting in Boomer's chair is absolutely incredible for me. So even though Barstool worked out beyond my wildest dreams, if I was ever here, like it would be an honor,
Yeah, because probably like 10 years ago you would have said like absolutely.
Oh my God, there was for sure a time where if you guys came knocking, I probably would have been like, I'm out. I'll drop everything for it.
But now you set yourself up pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, again, beyond my wildest dreams, never intended it, never saw it coming, so got lucky in that regard. But you guys are, the originals in my mind.
The OGs, here
OGs.
at WFAN. The last time you were on this show, it was on the phone, and we were talking about Steve Cohen.
Oh, boy.
And I was not offended by this, but I remembered what you said. And do you remember what you called me? I don't expect you to, but you did.
I do remember going at it, but I don't remember what I specifically said. What I called
you called me a fat idiot.
You're not fat anymore. You've been skinny for a while now.
Well, it's been about a year. I go up and down. We're coming on a year that I've kept this weight off. Thanks, but what the hell? It's just at some point I'll get fat again, and then I'll be looking back on these videos and going, "Oh my God, what happened to me?"
Also, it's like, what's the point?
Because you feel terrible.
Yes, that is true. But I don't know.
As far as looking good,
anyway.
it doesn't matter. You're married. You just
they put the makeup on you. I got the makeup on today. I got the full treatment.
Right.
Whatever. Put lipstick on the pig. Who cares?
Yeah, no, I know what you're saying, but it's really just feeling good.
When you wake up and you're not like every time I get out of a chair now, I'm the old man. I'm like, ugh.
Oh, it's terrible.
Terrible.
And how
man.
old are you now? You're a little older.
38. I'll be 39 in like
wait.
2 weeks.
I thought you were older than me.
No.
Oh, so all right. So you're 2 years younger than me. Yeah, it gets worse. It definitely gets
Of
worse.
course. Everything gets worse. Always.
It did, like, quickly, though.
Yeah, especially the life we live. Mets fans, Jets fans, Knicks fans, whatever you are, it just gets worse and worse every year.
Right. So you called me a fat idiot because I said that Steve Cohen was doing a bad job up until that point. And I understand that he's different than the Wilpons. I'm not one of those guys.
Mm-hmm.
But this offseason, even you, who's been trying to be positive with this organization for the last number of years when most of us have been negative, even this offseason's got to piss you off a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, there's no two ways about that. I will say, I do think people forget that, like, I think it matters that he initially had the biggest offer for Yamamoto.
Yeah.
Like, that means something. And I think at some point in the business world, you recognize when you're just being used for leverage and getting played. Like, yeah, I guess he could have gone to like 400. But I don't even know that. I really don't think Yamamoto was ever really planning on coming here, and it would have taken like something ridiculous to get him. And I think there was kind of an idea of like, if we get him, maybe we start to make more moves. And if we don't, we get back to the long-term plan. I was just saying this to you off mic. I think with the Mets, one of the best things that happened to us as fans in recent years was 2022, but for the long term, like the landscape of everything, I almost wonder if it got hopes up and it was kind of a little bit of like lightning in a bottle that we thought this is just, Cohen's here now and we're going to be like this every year. And it's like, we still didn't really even have a full-time GM or president at that time. It was still a revolving door and there's still a lot of changes to make. And I think we kind of needed to get back to like, he always had his heart. And as I said on Stearns, I don't know. I mean, this guy better deliver because I've been hearing his name for how long now?
And he's probably pulling the strings on this past offseason or sorry, not the offseason, but the trade deadline stuff before he was here.
Right.
Like, there's no doubt in my mind.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of pressure on him, to be honest, more so than even Cohen. I think when the time is right, I mean, it's just such a long-term thing when you talk about being an owner. You know what I mean? And I know New York, we don't have a lot of patience and we want things right away. And especially when you get a little taste of it where it was like what could have been. But I think they did a very good job of like, wait a minute, we had a long-term plan. All of a sudden, we catch lightning in a bottle. We're good. Let's go all in on some Hall of Famers, short-term that aren't going to bog us down. And when it didn't work out, it's like, all right, let's get back to the long-term plan. So now, listen, if all of a sudden Pete Alonso's walking and some of these big names go by without any real offers, nobody's coming in, then I'm going to get real. Then there's problems.
Well, I think that he would pay Pete Alonso if David Stearns wants Pete Alonso on the team. I don't think that money is going to stop him, but I don't know if David Stearns
is not to want.
I'll tell you, this is what he's going to say.
Batting average.
No. I want Pete Alonso signed. If he was signed this morning out of nowhere, which is not going to happen, I would be thrilled. I would have a positive opinion on him. I'm playing devil's advocate because sometimes these Met fans, you understand, get angry and they don't understand what you're trying to say. But this is what David Stearns will say. If the team is struggling and they get to the trade deadline and they're on track to win another 74, 75 games, they're going to say, all right, this guy, what is he doing for us? We're still a bad team.
Yeah.
So he's the face of a franchise that hits a bunch of home runs on a bad team, like the famous Ralph Kiner line when he went in to ask for more money after he led the league in home runs, that we finished last, we can finish last without you. And he's going to say, look at the prospects and rebuilding this farm system, which we needed to do. It's priority one. And the guy's in his 30s. So what am I going to do? Give him 8 years, 9 years, 10 years at this ridiculous number to just watch him depreciate over the next number of seasons? Or can I go and rebuild this team by making a huge deal at the trade deadline for a desperate team? That's what he's going to say.
Listen, I suppose if there's like the perfect offer and you're talking about top level prospects, and it's, almost like a Herschel Walker deal of baseball, there's some logic to that. For a franchise that has been devoid of sluggers, prior to Pete.
And homegrown ones, too.
Beltran was, 41 home runs was the most we ever had in a season. Yeah, homegrown. A guy who's got pretty much a lock for 40 and 50 home run potential. Juice some balls, and we're talking 60. Like, those don't grow on trees, man. those you're going to watch Pete Alonso go hit several hundred home runs for another team. And what you said does logically make sense. And I actually do really appreciate the executives that don't get emotional and don't think that way, where they're just like, what is best for the team long term? I get all that. But, you got to have some people. You got to have some guys on your team. And if you've already got a guy like Lindor locked up, it's like if there was no core at all, I could understand that. But if you've already got Lindor, Nimmo, Diaz, some of the pieces in place, Senga, you got to have a first baseman. You got to have some guys on your team. So, you can't go out there and be like a 50-win team. So, to me, I don't think there's any reason to not sign this guy. The money will be there. People kind of, discount him. Like, you can get another first baseman, like corner infield is not. Again, point to me the homegrown guy who's hitting 40 to 50 home runs.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. And I think, and tell me if I'm off base on this, and I don't think I've ever even said this to Boomer, but we haven't talked a ton of Mets this offseason. It's been so much football. But I really do believe that part of the reason why this is even a discussion is his personality.
Yeah.
That he doesn't have that aura about him. He's a goofball. And I'm not saying it's a bad thing, but like David Wright, when he was the face of the organization, was like, man, that guy is just perfect, And then a guy like Darryl Strawberry, he would walk around, he was huge. He just had like, oh my God, that's Darryl Strawberry. Mike Piazza, holy crap.
Bigger than life, larger than life, yeah.
Right, so and Pete Alonso's just like this kind of goofy dude from Florida that's just like, hey man, like this is awesome.
But you know what? If he would embrace that, it would work.
Yeah.
And I get that you want to be like, I'm the man. It's just off with him.
Yeah.
And I love the guy. I've met him a couple times. He's been nice coming on our show. He's given us time. Like, I don't mean it as a knock, but it's like I almost wish I could like do PR for him and like, like when I see I say this all the time, to be honest.
Yeah.
What my second career after Barstool should be is PR for players and teams, where it's like, don't send that tweet, don't give that clip. Here's what you should say, because some of these guys, it's like, who told you this was a good idea, And I think he tries to just be something he's not. I learned it myself on the internet. Like, you try to be something, try to be cool, you try to say this, you try to act like that, and when you're not, people can smell that a mile away,
Yeah.
And I just remember little things like at the home run derby when he was like closing his eyes and like the camera's zooming in on him and he's like focused. And he's listening to like Drake or whatever, like nodding along. And I'm like, he probably does do that. I'm not saying it's not him, but I think in the moment he was like, I'm going to like listen to music and be cool. And it's like, just go be out there and be like, I'm a goof. I'm a kind of fat goofball who mashes.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I'm not cool. I'm not slick. I'm not suave. What I do is mash. People would love that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really do believe that this would not be a discussion if he was that guy who was the unquestioned leader. He wasn't doing the Donnie Stevenson stuff.
Oh, that was the worst. Oh, that was the worst.
Yeah.
I actually, I got a kick out of it for like one day when it was like, okay, this is a cool little Clubhouse joke.
Yeah.
And then they like had somebody dress up like it. I was like, oh, boy, here we go. The Mets still, this is what Cohen needs to fix, and I don't know how you do it. Because I don't know, no matter who we have in here, the players, the coaches, the team, whatever, the Mets still Mets. They still do the goofy thing or the stupid thing or the try-hard thing. Or like when they did the World Series celebration.
Oh,
and it's like, and you hear that like, oh, every team does that or some shit. And it's like, oh, sorry.
It's okay.
That's going to happen like a couple times.
Yeah.
It's like, but you can't because you're the Mets. And you always get caught. And it's always LOL Mets. So stop doing that stuff.
Right, exactly. And I've tried to defend them for years and years and years, and I've now just waved the white flag on it. I can't defend some of the goofy stuff. I can't do it. And then the problem, like, this is a good topic for you because I don't think this is like a new thing in sports talk and in sports media. Like back when I was growing up and listening to the radio station and consuming sports media when I was in my 20s, so we're talking like 2004, 5, 6, somewhere in there. If someone that was talking about the Mets or the Vikings or the Knicks had a negative opinion about the team, I would want to, and I had a positive opinion of the team, I'd want to debate them a little bit, but I wouldn't hate that person's guts for it. Mm-hmm. And that's something that has gone on now where you can't, and the Met fan base is so sensitive right now.
Oh, I hate the Mets fan base.
Yeah, right. You can't say anything negative without them hating your guts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, listen, I want the best for the Mets too. And if I'm sitting here and saying everything they do is great, not calling them out for it, then now I'm not doing my job.
Sure. No, I get that. I just think, well, I have a different experience right now with a man by the name of Frank Fleming.
Yeah, right.
And because I used to be known as like the most negative sky is falling guy. I was that dude who was, the character in Major League, rooting against them basically.
Right.
Because I couldn't stand to see the Wilpons ever succeed and get lucky. And now Frank comes in. And, Frank is a superstar. He's probably the most recognizable person at the company. He's doing Frank walks right now. He's losing a ton of weight. He's a different guy. He's amazing.
He called in last week because I brought him up, and he was just so happy to get all the flowers thrown at him. It was hilarious.
Oh, he's the belle of the ball right now. But he is so negative at all times. When you get to that level, it's like, well, now I can't trust that you're being logical at all because everything is negative. When we were winning 100 games, the sky was falling every day.
Yeah.
Now is that, if you got some complaints now, I understand. He was doing the same thing in 2022 when we were winning, 3 out of every 4 games.
Sure.
So that's the kind of stuff and what I really try to preach, and it's Steve Cohen came in and took over one of the worst organizations in all of sports. And in the grand scope of owning a baseball team, we are still at like the very first little blip of his, reign, if you will. And I think there's so much that needs to be done that, like, just remember, you're not even making $375 million offers. You're not even in the conversation. And it's not that long ago when the Correa Day happened, which ended up all reversing. But there was they have a thing called the Cohen tax.
Yeah.
He's changed the game. By the way, if Steve Cohen ever pulled what the Dodgers pulled with Shohei Ohtani, the world would have collapsed into itself.
100%.
Yep. We can't it's just remember how bleak. I think people have a real short memory on how dark and how bleak it was. And I know maybe the results aren't there, but like a lot of the infrastructure and off the field stuff, it's a lot better. Now, if a couple more years go by and no money's being spent and things haven't changed, then you have a gripe. But we're only a couple years removed from the best season we've all witnessed in the last 30 years.
Yep.
And it's like a little bit of grace, guys. A little bit. You know what I mean? We're Mets fans. We've been through a lot worse than this.
Yeah, and I do think that's part of it, though, is that if you're someone who was negative during the Wilpon reign, then you got excited about Steve Cohen being here, and the seasons have gone the way they did. Like, for example, I mean, that 101-win season was great, but that series down in Atlanta where you got swept was horrible. Then that Padres series, getting your ass kicked, and then Max Scherzer, the guy, the real big Steve Cohen acquisition.
Don't you just hate him now?
Oh, I hate his guts.
Hate him.
He gets killed on that Friday night.
Then this is where, like, in what world, what other fan base would have the two guys go to the World Series winning team?
Yeah, I know.
What? How does that happen? and it's the Texas Rangers?
I know.
How? That's where I get nervous because I'm like, Steve Cohen has so much money, and I think he's smart enough to put the best people in baseball around him.
Yeah.
That it's almost like inevitable that at some point we'll be a contending franchise. But when things like that happen, I'm like, this is you're cursed.
Right. Absolutely.
Then I get worried that even Steve Cohen could have $50 billion. And he would go, well, I don't know. There's black magic working against him. Because how does Jacob deGrom and Max Scherzer go to the – it's just –
yeah, but at least DeGrom didn't pitch.
I know.
Mean, at least
if he was like lights out –
yeah, that would have been –
and Max wasn't good, so it's like they didn't really like – but the fact that they're going to have rings and, it's like, how does that happen? It's the same thing as, Doc and Darryl back in the day going to the Yankees. Like, how – what?
I know.
In what world?
All right, it is Boomer and Gio on the Fan and CBS Sports Network. Kevin Clancy, KFC from Barstool with us for the entire show. We got CeeLo coming up with his first update of the morning.